Hello, everybody. Time to sit down, please. Testing. Testing. What a wonderful crowd, all quietening down just at the right time. I always feel sorry for MCs who have to quieten down a crowd, and you were just all perfect. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is a great pleasure to have you all here this evening in this room. So many good friends of the Stella organisation here in Meanjin, Brisbane this evening for the very special 2026 Stella Awards ceremony. Tonight we celebrate this beloved annual literary prize awarded to the most excellent, original and outstanding book written by an Australian woman or non-binary writer. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage Auntie Catherine, who will do a welcome to country.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Hey, what a beautiful night. Surrounded by beautiful people. Gammon. Now. Anyways, you readers celebrate a lot of beautiful writers. Not me. My name's Catherine Georgetown Fisher, and I was born and raised on the Aboriginal mission of Cherbourg. And Cherbourg was made up of many, many different language groups. They were brought in from all over Queensland, from the north, south, east and west. And I used my grandmother, my beautiful, grumpy old grandmother, as an example. My father's mother was taken as a child, along with their little brother, from the Georgetown district in far north Queensland. They were human children, and they were brought all the way down here to southeast Queensland to Walker country, on a mission called Baramba. They couldn't speak the language of the Waka people, or anybody else that were brought there couldn't speak to each other in language because they came from different language groups. But we were all taught to learn English. Turrbal people, they coexisted here for a short period of time with the colonisers, but the colonisers needed that river so they can bring their boats and their ships in, and they had to get rid of them. I mean, there's a bit of history there, but so to cut it short, they slaughtered many of them. And those that survived were rounded up and taken north until eventually some of those descendants ended up on Baramba Mission as well. I mean, this happened throughout Australia, where children were separated from family, separated from their country, taken off their land, taken away from their laws and customs, and taken away from their language, their mother's tongue. First people come to us, they started run our life quick. They bring drink. They could have asked about fish, cave, dreaming, but they rush in, build school, teach. Now Aborigine losing it, losing everything. My old people, they're gone. Those first people, they were too quick for us. It wasn't our fault. But in saying that, and you can look back in the past, centuries past, and it's still relevant today. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking, and it cannot be changed until we change our thinking. So think about that, eh? I thought it was a very smart comment by Albert Einstein. I like him. He also said peace couldn't be achieved through force. It can only be achieved through understanding. But then you look around the world, you know, our children shouldn't be terrified of the world that adults have created. No matter where, you look around, even here, throughout the world, children are being terrified in one form or another, and that's wrong. But another wise man, the Kakadu man, he says, you know, skin can be different, but blood the same. Blood and bone all same. Man can't split himself. So think about that one on a spiritual level. Blood and bone, all same. Man can't split himself. Right? He goes on to say about European can't growl at Aborigine, and Aborigine can't growl at white man, because both might be good. Both might be no bloody good. Oops. So there's good and bad in everybody, in every race. You just can't point finger at one. If we are to survive, like when you give to others, you're just simply spreading your love energy. In the end, you will discover that your life has true meaning when you serve mankind. So remember, we're all here to help each other. By helping each other, we rise together. And that's why we're here in the first place. So if you want to find yourself, go and lose yourself in the service of others. Bulgari, Maramba, Mianzin, Moramayanaman, Jinja Yari, Yara Yang Tiba, Diragam Daya, Yalabiki, Kaba Tubuljagan. In other words, thank you. I won't say it's a welcome because it's too late for that. It's about acknowledging the fact that you're acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that we gather on, as we acknowledge you. And that's important, about acknowledgement of each other. We also acknowledge all the surrounding groups, the Yagara, the Yugarpul, the Yugunbi, the Gabi, the Waka, people from Mungalba, from the islands. I'm going to leave you with one Crobbery song. This old man who brought this song to Cherbourg, in it he speaks about him wanting to go back home and sit down in his own bora. Because I took him off his country, he was a Kabi Gubby man. And he's trying to tell the white official that used to come to the mission that he want to go home. And because we used to have to entertain the white officials when they came to the mission. I grew up under the Act, okay? I was born under the Act, I grew up under the Act. We had no freedom to move, to walk, unless we had a permit. So he was brought there before my time. My father knew him, they grew up. He was an old, elderly man when my father was growing up there. My mother's a Western Queensland woman, born on one mission for Room, then taken to Royal Binder Mission where she grew up, and then eventually she was sent to Cherbourg Mission where she met my father and they fell in love. And they had all us nuisances. 15 of us. Wow. 10 brothers I had, beautiful, hard-working brothers. My father had good work ethics. My mother was a clever woman, a medicine woman, a seamstress, a carer. We didn't want for nothing, despite the 15 of us. The money wasn't there, rations, but we also hunted too, so that supplemented the horrible rations that we got. Didn't need hospitals or doctors because she took care of us, prevented us from getting sick. That's the kind of woman she was. I'm the doctor in my family. Dr. Fisher, I call myself. Because all my family comes to me when somebody gets hurt or needs mending. But I'll let you get on with this beautiful evening. I'll finish with this song and I'll get rid of myself. Thank you. Gari ninanami, jujububirono, gari ninanami, gari ninanami, jujububirono, gari ninanami, jujububirono. Gari ninanami, jujububirono, gaya mamaranya, jagan gunganyongo. Gaya mamaranya, jagan gunganyongo. Gaya mamaranya, jagan gunganyongo. Garinanami, jujububirono. Garinanami, jujububirono. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie Catherine, for your beautiful storytelling and your song. We would like to acknowledge that there have always been storytellers walking on this land of the Yagara and Turrbal people. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Susie Wilson and I'm your MC tonight. I'm a proud past judge of the Stella Awards and the founder of both the Indigenous Literacy Foundation and Riverbend Books. It's an honour to warmly welcome distinguished guest Dame Quentin Bryce this evening, former Governor of Queensland and Governor-General of Australia. She is the perfect woman to be presenting the prize this evening because one of her most beautiful qualities is the way she truly supports and lifts up women. She sees women, she sees their endeavours and is truly encouraging. It's a quality that is deeply aligned with Stella values. I also welcome Courtney Stewart, the Artistic Director and CEO for La Boîte Theatre. She is the Queensland Ambassador for Stella and will be hosting tomorrow night's event. Fiona Sweet, Executive Director and CEO. Sophie G, the CEO of the Stella organisation. Sophie G, the 2026 Chair of Judges, and Megan McCracken, Chair of the Stella Board. Thank you all for coming. I also welcome Fiona Stager, hiding up the back there. The literary doyen of Brisbane, who also happens to be a past chair of the Stella Judges and a dear friend to many in the room. And to all the authors and the lovers of books and reading in the room tonight and watching around the country, we welcome you as well. I also want to acknowledge the founders of Stella: Chris Gordon, Joe Case, Aviva Tuffield, Monica Dux, Louise Swin, Rebecca Stafford and Sophie Cunningham. Wherever you are in Australia this evening, I hope you have gigantic grins on your faces as we all bear witness to the fruition of your idea and action that gave birth to this fantastic organisation. It was your energy and commitment that made this happen, and you changed the literary landscape forever. Tonight, we salute you. The Stella Award took this country by storm back in 2012, and in 14 short years has completely reversed the pattern of domination by men when it comes to winning awards, particularly the Miles Franklin. In the 13 years before the Stella Award arrived on the scene, the Miles Franklin was won 11 times by a man. In the next 14 years, it was won 12 times by a woman. Don't you just love stats like those? And if you'd like to know more details about the history and activities of the Stella organisation, do visit their fantastic website. There's lots of information there. This year's long-listed and shortlisted books pack a punch when it comes to honouring and building on the Stella ideas. I had the most marvellous time reading them over the last few weeks. They gave many deep insights into dark and light sides of what it means to be human. The celebrations of culture and country, they shone like many faceted diamonds. Collectively, they broke my heart and lifted me up again and again, which they will do for all of you too when you buy these books from the bookshop later on. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome to the mic Megan McCracken, Chair of the Board of the Stella.
Okay, the shortlist for the Miles Franklin Award in 2011 was an all-male one, just as it was in 2009, and a theme, as we'd heard, that had repeated over and over again. But when announcing that list, the Chair of Judges said that they had walked out of the 2-hour shortlist meeting without realising what they had done, and went on to say, "I'm sorry, but you can draw no conclusions from it." But a small group of extraordinary women who we just heard about, did draw conclusions from it, noticing that this was an issue repeated in other prizes across the nation, and thus the Stella Prize was born. Miles Franklin's full name is Stella Maria Miles Franklin. We believe Miles Franklin would be thrilled to know her name celebrates women's writing in all its forms. Stella, yes. Stella is more than its flagship prize. We are an organisation deeply committed to gender equity and cultural change in Australian literature. Tonight, you are all part of history. This is the first time that the prize announcement has been held outside Sydney or Melbourne, and we are honoured to be here in Meanjin, Brisbane, on Turrbal and Jagera lands. The Stella Prize has always been a national prize, and hosting here tonight is an important reminder that we are here for all Australian women and non-binary authors and for all readers. Tonight we celebrate the extraordinary cultural contribution of our Stella listers, as we call them, and tomorrow we focus on the future as we host over 500 high schoolers from Queensland in a free event to engage them in discussions about this year's shortlisted works. Literature builds empathy, it opens minds, and when more Australians feel engaged in stories by women and non-binary authors, we move closer to a fairer and more equal society. We are a small organisation with a mighty heart. Huge thanks to our CEO Fiona Sweet and her incredible team who have partnered with our precious sponsors Australia-wide and our supporters here in Brisbane to run this event. We are grateful for the support of our sponsors, many of whom are here tonight. I'd like to give brief thanks to all of those who endowed the Stella Forever Fund, which enables us to pay the prize money to the winner and all authors on the long list and shortlist. To Quest, our principal supporter, we are so pleased to partner with you, and a huge shout out to the Questies, and I can see you lined up there in the room. Your presence at Stella events brings so much joy. And thank you to our major prize supporters. I hope they're coming up on the slides. Please pay attention. This is an extraordinary list. And to the extraordinary people and companies that provide financial and in-kind support. And to our prize and event partners for tonight and at many of our events. Your support means we can provide an extraordinary location and experience for our guests. And of course, to our dear ambassadors who advocate for us right across the country. Now, while we have made real progress in amplifying the voices of women and non-binary authors, there's still so much to do. And we rely almost entirely on the support of Stella supporters like you to get the funds each year to keep going. Now, on your seats are Stella bookmarks. They are a memento of tonight's historic occasion here in Brisbane. And if you are inspired to be part of the Stella posse, we'd love you to scan the QR code on the screen or on these bookmarks to make a donation of any kind within your means to ensure that we can keep the Stella vision alive. Now, to our long-listed and shortlisted authors, congratulations. Once a Stella author, always a Stella author. And gratitude always to our judging panel led by Sophie G. You all went just above and beyond to read over 200 titles and then I've done this before, just it's extraordinary, had the tough task of whittling it down to a winner. I don't know how you do it, but you've done it. So on behalf of the board, thank you to all of you here. We are here tonight to shine a bright light on the brilliant authors of our judging panel has championed. Whether long-listed, short-listed or taking home the prize, these writers shape our culture and spark new ways of seeing the world. Thank you. And now please welcome our principal partner, Anthea Dimitrakopoulos from Quest Apartments.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Megan. What the Stella Prize continues to do is absolutely extraordinary. As principal partner, Quest Apartment Hotels is incredibly proud to support you all. Because stories matter. They shape how we see ourselves, how we understand each other, and sometimes how we find our way back to each other. This year's shortlisted authors have given us stories filled with courage, truth, and humanity. Stories that ask us to sit with grief, with injustice, with identity, with memory, and with the complicated truths of who we truly are. But the very best writing does something quite powerful. It reminds us that none of us are alone. In a world that can feel incredibly fast and disconnected, great writers ask us to pause, to listen, to feel, and that matters more than ever. At Quest, we believe deeply in belonging. Across our 120 properties across Australia, our questies create places where people feel welcomed, cared, and seen. And to our Brisbane questies in the room tonight, thank you for bringing that spirit to life every single day. And Kate Campbell, your fellow Queenslander and Olympic legend, thank you for showing Australians the strength and vulnerability can exist together. We are so proud to have you as our Quest ambassador. And finally, to our writers, thank you, because somewhere, somebody will read your words at exactly the moment they need it most. Maybe in grief, maybe in loneliness, maybe while trying to understand themselves or somebody they love. And without ever meeting them, you'll make them feel seen, less alone and more hopeful. What a remarkable gift that is. Thank you. And now I'm really pleased to introduce the fabulous, the amazing Fiona Sweet, the Creative Director and CEO of Stella. Thank you.
Hello everyone, that's a very hard act to follow. Thank you, Anthea. That was beautifully heartfelt and deeply moving. Thank you for joining us tonight as we announce, and you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but nearly there, we announce the 2026 Stella Prize. My name is Fiona Sweet and I'm the CEO and Creative Director of Stella. We're thrilled to be in Brisbane. Many people before me have told you how excited we are, and it is a really, really special occasion to be able to move the Stella Prize to Brisbane and to celebrate all the passionate writers and readers that live across Australia. And in fact, next year we'll be moving to Perth. So the idea is to continue. You're the first outside of Melbourne and Sydney, and we will continue to travel as a roadshow, the Stella Prize. It's hard not to sound like a broken record as I take to the stage for yet another year filled with the same mix of awe and gratitude, both for the continued outpouring of support for Stella and the calibre of extraordinary writing I have the privilege of celebrating. How many ways can one say thank you? That's a question best left to the writers, which I am not, though I do my best to try. Our cultural landscape is vibrant but fragile, and as we know, it takes collective effort to keep organisations like Stella not just afloat, but truly thriving. In a world of uncertainty, how do we stay the course? The answer, of course, is community. Our foundations are built from the strongest stuff, the anger, the hope, and the sheer will of women in publishing. Following an all-male shortlist for the 2011 Miles Franklin, a group of women, as discussed earlier by Megan, came together and decided enough was enough. And rather than lobby or plead or despair, they sought to build something entirely new, a prize that would exist solely to celebrate Australian women and non-binary writing. Over the past 14 years, Stella has awarded over $1 million in prize money to 168 remarkable authors. As Stella has grown, we have witnessed a long-awaited shift in the national conversation alongside Stella. Books by women and non-binary writers are getting broader publicity, wider readership, more write-ups in legacy media, and appearing on more prize shortlists. A question I'm often asked is, with gender representation becoming more balanced in Australian publishing, is the Stella Prize still relevant? Well, of course it is. I equate this to asking someone why they are taking care of their health if they're not ill. Equity in numbers doesn't always mean equity in recognition, influence, or opportunity. The Stella Prize was created to address historical underrepresentation and to actively celebrate excellence and champion a broad range of voices. Prizes like the Stella are imperative to sustaining a vibrant, diverse, and dynamic body of stories that shape and reflect our culture. This is the impact of Stella. This is the legacy we celebrate tonight. And as we honour this year's Stella Prize longlist, we recognise that their achievement is part of something bigger, an ongoing journey to reshape Australian culture for the better. We're not just a prize. We run programs all year round with the aim of bridging access gaps nationwide and connecting communities with great writing and big ideas. Stella Day Out, our series of free one-day literature festivals, continues this year and throughout regional Australia and all capital cities also in Australia. Our schools program, which began in Melbourne earlier this year, will grace every stage tomorrow. And through our residency programs, we provide writers with two very precious resources, time and space, with which to write their next book. None of this would be possible without an enormous collective effort. And so on behalf of the Stella team, it's my great pleasure to recognise the many individuals and organisations who've contributed to this celebration and to Stella's work in the last year. I'd like to start by thanking the fabulous Stella Board, Chair Megan McCracken, Deputy Chair Claire Wyville-Plater, Treasurer Mary Latham, Secretary Felicity Idale, Board Observer Yvonne Sewancambo, and Board members Teresa Dyson, Ellie Gay, Michelle Law and Rebecca Lim. And my fabulous and mighty team, Amy Green and Emily McLennan, and publicist Stacey Piggott from Daydream Nation. Also a special thank you to the Old Museum for hosting us tonight. Thanks to the Nunda Community Enterprises Cooperative for providing the catering, and a huge thank you to Scotchman's Hill for keeping our glasses deliciously full, and the wonderful Avid Reader for being our bookseller partner. Please show your support for our Stella authors by purchasing a Stella tote and filling it with books. I'd like to thank our principal sponsor, Stella Apartment Hotels, and a very big heartfelt thank you to the Copyright Agency and its philanthropic arm, the Cultural Fund, who have funded us for many, Joe, I don't know how many years, but many, before my time, so at least, I don't know, Joe, you there? How many years? 10? 9 years the Copyright Agency has funded the judges and the long listers, and that's quite extraordinary for us because, as everyone knows who's in the business, it's very hard to keep a long-term sponsor, so we're very, very grateful. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank Paula McLean and the McLean Foundation, Koshland Innovation Fund, again, long-term committed supporters of Stella, and the many individual donors who allow us to continue our vital work in elevating Australian women's writing. And then, of course, there's all the people who endowed the prize, our ambassadors and everyone who's made some contribution, many contributions to our programs, volunteered your time, shared your experience, made a donation, or spread the word, which is also really, really important. Thank you, and thank you. I'm surprised and delighted each year by the diversity of the Stella longlist, not just in terms of content, but also in terms of form. This year the longlist consisted of 3 novels, a collection of short stories, 5 works of hybrid non-fiction and memoir, a graphic novel, and 2 collections of poetry. It's extraordinary and humbling to witness the depth, breadth, and sheer calibre of Australian women's and non-binary writing. It cannot be denied that our strength lies in our diversity. The list is also a testament to the hard work, they're sitting in the front row, there they are, and skill of our exceptional judges. 212 entries, all of them read by all the judges. Sophie G, Gillian, Jacqueline, Evian and Ben, thank you. Extraordinary. And now we're going to screen some short excerpts from each of the 6 shortlisted books, because the long list and the shortlist and the winner are all equally important, and we want you to just to have a little snapshot. So The Rot by Evelyn Araluen and performed by Evelyn Araluen, Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks and performed by Geraldine Brooks, Fireweather by Miranda Darling and performed by Miranda Darling, Canon by Lee Lay and performed by Lee Lay, 58 Facets on Law, Violence and Revolution by Marika Sosnowski and performed by Marika, and I Am Nana Tagaruk by Tasma Walton, who of course is the actor, so that will be quite exciting too. Thank you.
Hey Stella Prize, my name is Evelyn Araluen and I'm reading from The Rot. Upfield line. You old dog, you sardine huddled in the tin you sardine tin jostling in a Lamana shopping basket, brimming with other assorted tins, all dressed beautiful, adorned citrus fragrant earthy spice staining the glossy oil that seeps through a canvas tote like you won't believe. You with your shuddering vistas, warehouses, car park artists' residencies, luxury co-dwelling homing startups co-looming over weathered weatherboard workers' cottages. They them's reading a Ferrante they started at Pines before knockoffs at Flippies, those stupid European cups. Pepper trees heaving chain-link fences. Got to keep the trains in their crates lest they go restless and destructive, like a shivering greyhound biochemically engineered to hunt and slaughter teacup cavoodles with deathly precision.
Tony died on Memorial Day, the American holiday that falls on the last Monday in May, and others all were dead. When I get to Flinders Island, I'll begin my own Memorial Days. I'm taking something that our culture has stopped really giving, the right to breathe, to shut out the world and its demands, to remember my love and to feel the immensity of its loss. Grief is praise, writes Martin Preptel in his book, It's Not a Rain List, because it is the natural way love honors what it misses. I haven't honored Tony enough, because I have not permitted myself the time and space for a grief deep enough to reflect our love. This will be, finally, the time when I will not have to prepare a face for the faces that I meet. The place where I will not have to pretend that things are normal and that I am okay, because it has been more than 3 years, and contrary to appearances, I am not at all okay.
I sense a restlessness among the plants today and stand as still as I can, allowing them to fully sense me. I have been practicing telepathic receptivity. It takes the form of a relentless yet indistinct focus. It's a bit like conjuring fog or directing clouds. I must concentrate intensely and yet define nothing, seek no fixed point or outcome. I find it takes a fierce effort to do this, to thin the veil. It can leave me exhausted, dizzy even, to hold space, loosely, gently, to dissolve the categories between us, plants and I patient, I nebulize. The process is a bit like tuning a radio. The messages burst or fade or blur or overlap. I think of the plant emanations as songs because I do not have another word yet for how deeply they move me, how something about their energetic discharge shakes important things loose far inside.
Hi, my name is Lee, and I'm going to be reading a passage from this graphic novel canon. And I'm going to put the panels somewhere over here so you can look at them and not at me. Okay, cueing the relaxation meditation music. I just want to remind you, dear listener, that it's entirely okay to find your thoughts running away from you. Thoughts, after all, can be invasive and preoccupying. That's why I believe so wholeheartedly in the power of mindful breathing, attempting not to control our emotions, but to gently guide our focus elsewhere in our bodies. In and out. In and out.
I had a dream last night. I was opening boxes, many boxes, old boxes, mostly cardboard, although somehow still intact, despite their location on a barge in the salty ocean. In my dream, this is. They contained a range of official-looking identity documents of my grandfather. Many had passport photographs attached to them. Him looking young and handsome, him posing for the camera, an impossibly straight hair parting, held in place with a lot of Brill cream. Some of the documents were handwritten, stamped by a state authority that would, when push came to shove, banish him from within its borders. Some were typed on what would now be considered an old-style typewriter, the same font you would use for ransom notes.
Only when he is done does he light a tiny flame, flickering like a fragile flower at the tip of a stem. In this dimmest of glows, I hold my stare and let contempt crease every resolute line in my face. I will make sure this lambent light bears true witness to the iniquity of his actions, that it lays bare the rotting weakness at the core of his character. I see the truth of who he is, and he knows. Jabbing a filthy finger at my chest, he growls, "You are mine." My gaze is steady as I see the staunch women of my clan flash through my mind, lining up in a formation ready to fight. I am Nanit Gorok.
I think a huge round of applause for all the shortlisters. And very, very excitedly, I'd like to invite Dame Quentin Bryce to join me on stage to present the shortlist trophies. Thank you. Chloe Mills from QUP is accepting the award on behalf of Evelyn Araluan. Chloe? Emily Ligazzolo from Hachette is going to accept the award on behalf of Geraldine Brooks. Amy Green from Stella is going to accept the award for Miranda Darling. Amy Green again is going to accept the award for Marika Sosnowski. Thank you, Amy. Lee Lay is going to accept the award for Lee Lay. And Dr. Anita Heiss from Bunji is going to accept the award for Tasma Walton. I'm now going to hand over to Sophie G.
Sophie, we are so delighted to welcome you this evening, Chair of the Stella Award Judges. Sophie is the inaugural Vice-Chancellor's Fellow at the University of Sydney, a Professor of English at Princeton University. She writes regularly for the New York Times, the Times Literary Supplement, the Washington Post, and the Sydney Morning Herald, among other places. Her PhD is in English from Harvard, and she has held fellowships at Yale and UCLA. Wow. She speaks worldwide at arts and literary festivals about why books and humanities matter more than ever. Please welcome her.
Dame Quentin, Auntie Catherine, and all First Nations people here and watching tonight, Susie, Megan, Fiona, members of the Stella Board and honoured guests, which is everybody in the room. It's an enormous privilege to be standing in this room of distinguished Australian women, non-binary folks, and a handful of men. We are a passionate community of readers, writers, creators, supporters, and artistic visionaries. Everybody in this room tonight has made the choice to place writing and reading and singing and storytelling at the centre of their lives. And to speak personally for one moment, my heart opened, my mind expanded enormously from reading these particular books with these judges on behalf of this community of readers and writers. So book people, which is all of us, know that literature changes lives because it keeps us company in our most painful and joyful human experiences. Good writing brings us closer to others and it insists on our shared humanity. But for the first time in modern human history, and by this I mean history since 2700 BCE, when the Epic of Gilgamesh was first inscribed on clay tablets in Mesopotamia, and songs and stories were being told across Australia, for the first time, the human compulsion to read and write are at risk. Collectively, we have been neglecting the reality that reading and writing make us who we are. To use some words that are out of fashion, but I think important, we're forgetting that reading and writing make us more generous, more compassionate, and indeed more virtuous. Reading and writing cultivate sustained attention. They let us inhabit other minds, hearts, and worldviews. But reading rates are plummeting, as we all know, especially among young people. Automated and synthetic writing are proliferating. And these artificial technologies do save time and money, but they are costing us our deep human need to understand ourselves and others by making and sharing what we write. Yet even as reading and writing lose their hard-won place of honour in human societies, modern MRI technology, psychology and neuroscience research affirm that our human survival, literally our human survival, our capacity to live curious, connected, emotionally real lives depend on continuing to read deeply and write about our collective experiences. Yes, our human survival literally depends on our continuing to read and write. So, as chair of the Stella Prize this year, I had the honour to read more than 200 works of imaginative writing made by Australian women and non-binary folks' hands and hearts, made all over the world. Their books were made from hard manual work. They were powered by feelings of curiosity, love, anger, joy, despair, and hope. They were made by real bodies who feel pain and love. They were read by readers who feel the same things. They were made by searching, endlessly restless human minds seeking deeper truths than any of us can grasp without reading and writing. And as I read, I felt the presence of the minds and the bodies and the hearts of the women and the non-binary folks who had made them. I felt the special power of human imagination, which is both breathtaking and very imperfect. The humanity of writing lives in its strangeness, in its unpredictability, in the variety and the unevenness of language used by human voices reflecting imperfectly on their diverse and constantly varying experiences. The Stella judging panel this year, as everyone has already said, was a remarkable fivesome of readers and writers. So I'd like to invite the judges who are here now to join me on the stage. EVN, Ellen van Neerven, Jacqueline Krupe, and Benjamin Law. And a huge shout out to Gillian O'Shaughnessy, our fifth judge, who wasn't able to be here tonight. I'd also like to invite Dame Quentin to join us on the stage because we will be very soon announcing the winner. As we read together over many months, we judges collectively became aware of a kind of magic. In reading and talking together, we shared our minds and hearts and breath and bodies. Critical reading, in other words, isn't just giving books a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's saying, this writing, these ideas, this person has entered my bloodstream and shown me how to live differently. It's saying, this writing has let the souls of other readers become part of my soul and I am changed, even in small ways. Human writing and reading give us ways to abide with the truths of uncertainty and resolution. Human-made stories change us because they're about the constantly changing nature of our lives, how we never have ground under us, how we struggle and fight and love and learn, and we do it over and over again. Sometimes we do it with humour, sometimes we do it bitterly and resentfully, and sometimes mere words are not enough to convey the truth of our human struggles and joys. We need drawings, we need illustrations to reveal juxtapositions between what we can say with words and what we see in front of us and feel. So when it came time to choose one book that showed us something new about how to be human, the five of us agreed on a wonderful choice that made us laugh, touched us deeply in our hearts, and was both weird and instantly recognisable, And for unexpected bonuses, it was set in a restaurant and featured a flock of mad, never-explained black birds who consistently recur. It's an enormous joy to announce that the 2026 winner of the Stella Prize is Lee Lai. Congratulations to Lee for her gorgeous graphic novel, Canon. So brilliant. Lee is going to speak to us, but first Dame Quentin is going to present her with the trophy.
Chat amongst yourselves for a minute.
Could I just butt in with a few words to just say what an honour it has been for me to participate in this wonderful celebration. For me, the Stella Prize signifies one of the great achievements in the proud history of the women's movement of our country. Thank you. Hi. I think probably anyone would be nervous to give this speech, but I'm very nervous because my business is with pictures, maybe more so than it is with words, and I'm in a room full of some of the best readers and writers in Australia, but I will do my best. Can you all hear me okay? I have a kind of quiet voice. Great. So I'm honoured tonight to be on the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people, and I pay my deepest respects to elders past and present and emerging. First Nations are the original storytellers all over the world. In the places where I've developed my own storytelling practices, I give thanks to the people of the Kulin Nation and the Giningahaka of Tiohtià:ke. Always was, always will be. So the years of working on this book have been exceptional years on a global scale. And I've asked myself constantly over this period, why am I making art and how can I actually contribute to my community? And the conclusion that I repeatedly came to was that the art was not of consequence. I began drawing canon from a script into pencil pages in 2020, right as the pandemic hit. So I was doing these drawings to daily news stories of suffering and death on this unimaginable scale. It was also a time of watching social inequalities rising even more overtly to the surface as it became clear who was afforded safety from the virus and who was left unprotected and unprioritized. That year also, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, Manuel Ellis, Andre Hill, Sheffield Matthews, and many more were gunned down by policemen in broad daylight, and the world rose up in grief and protest. And at the same time as these horrors were broadcast, I was seeing this swell in solidarity and humanity and cooperation. And so I felt acutely that my value wasn't as an artist, but as a neighbor. The real work wasn't art, it was that there was, nappies and groceries and PPE to disperse and protests to attend and resources to distribute. And then in 2023, while I was still working on this book, Israel released a new level of genocidal punishment upon the people of Gaza and the West Bank. We watched and continue to watch a barefaced, proudly declared multi-billion-dollar colonial scheme roll out reminiscent of the Nakba in 1948, but far greater and deadlier in scale and live streamed directly onto our phones. In those first few months, the Palestinian-American journalist Mariam Barghouti wrote online, "Fuck your sad poetry, go and occupy a train station." And I was feeling that clarity again, that the real valuable work that I could contribute was marching and screaming and mobilizing in what I felt were the practical ways against colonial terror. And then today, the same social issues that peaked during COVID have aggravated further as governments all over the globe swing even more to the right, and Israel continues to flout international law, extending its occupation into Lebanon and Iran. And I noticed this same question is remaining on my mind. Why am I making art, and how can I actually contribute to my community? Graphic novels take a lot of time, and it's easy to feel like I'm in a bubble drawing little people in boxes and thinking that the work that I'm making is of no consequence to anyone. But then the thing about publishing something, and certainly the thing about accepting the honor of a prize like the Stella, is that I'm forced to consider the ways in which my work might actually be of some consequence to somebody. And I have to consider, by extension, the possibility that art and practical action might not be an either or, and that there might be more ways of letting one into the other. This book is not about the concerns that plague so much of my attention on the daily these days: land theft, climate crisis, corporate greed, and genocide. It's a story about small-scale human follies and the excruciating process of learning and growing through them. It's also a book about love and about rage, and those are two emotions that have fueled my efforts as an artist and as an organizer for the past many years. And if I must think about the fact that this book is landing for somebody else, then my big hope is that it acts as a catharsis and an encouragement to experience some real love or some real anger, and that one might use that for something worthwhile. It's a complicated but great honor to receive recognition like this in these genuinely terrible times. And it's a complicated but great honor to be the first trans person accepting this award in a moment when anti-trans rhetoric has become such a major fascist playing card. Something that I've consistently noticed in social spaces committed to justice, whether that be climate groups, abolitionist groups, mutual aid, anti-war groups, or grassroots arts organizations, is that they're consistently dominated by women and queer people and trans people who care so much. And I've noticed a similar pattern amongst these Stella authors that are longlisted and shortlisted each year, and I'm so grateful to the Stella organization for nurturing such a special group of writers, writers who consistently take risks, put their careers on the lines to speak truth to power, and use their skills to nurture their communities. There's so many of them. There's too many to name tonight, but I'm going to name a few anyway. Evelyn, Randa, Alexis, Michelle, Chelsea, Cher, Sama, Melissa, and many more. I have a long way to go in learning how to bring my community work and my creative work together into the same space, and I look to these writers constantly for inspiration. My heartfelt thanks to the Stella team for your care and enthusiasm in this amazing and slightly terrifying experience. There's actually more than this list, but these are the people that I've met, which are Fiona, Stacey, Amy, Viv, and Emily, and it's been a pleasure. I want to thank some of the people in my immediate life who've contributed so much and have been a consistent support and inspiration to me. Writing demands so much emotional energy and involves the distilling of so many ideas, and I couldn't do that if I wasn't constantly talking about it with people who are cleverer than me, so that those thoughts can, get grounded into something tangible. Notably, when I wrote this list, I realized it was also completely comprised of women and queers and trans people, with the exception of my wonderful dad, who is the token straight man in my life. So thank you to my parents, Janet and Charles, my brilliant sister Cheska, And my precious friends, Eli, Wyan, Tarek, Soraya, Tommy, Betty, Toby, Eve, Seth, Nikki, Julia, Ale, Bex, Shay, and more. I'm particularly indebted to my partner, Samia, who read so many versions of this book and had so many conversations with me about it. I have learned so much from her. Thank you to Nick, Kate, and Ivor at Giramondo for taking the risk on this book of pictures. Thank you to the Stella judges, Sophie, Ben, Ellen, Jacqueline, and Gillian, for the attention and the deep thought and the labor that you put into the works this year. And to the other shortlisters, Geraldine, Evelyn, Miranda, Marika, and Tasma, I am beyond honored to share this list with you. Thank you for your beautiful work. I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you so much.
Massive congratulations, Lai. That was an extraordinary speech, and we're very grateful to have been able to hear directly from you about the whole process of writing, drawing, and winning. I had this crazy idea when I was reading the book that wouldn't it be fantastic if we could bring a flock of blackbirds into the Queensland Museum this evening? But luckily I have far too much experience with workplace health and safety to let that idea develop. I didn't see this book coming. I opened it. I have to confess, I'm not much of a reader of graphic novels, but as I'm seeing the judges nod as I say this, as I read it, it was almost like I stopped breathing at some points. It is the most, isn't it? You do, don't you? It is that fabulous thing when you see a work of great art and everything stops for a minute, or you hear a beautiful piece of music. This is what happened to me when I was reading your book, Lai, and I'll get Terry. I'll stop there. Congratulations, though, from everyone. A few things to mention before we close the evening. I would like to deeply apologise to Chloe Mills for that little stuff up before. Sorry, Chloe. Chloe is from Magabala Press, and she has travelled all the way from Broome to be here this evening. So thank you, Chloe. We're delighted that you are here. I love Magabala Press. It is a small but mighty press, and they are the publisher of Evelyn Aralewin's book. Can I also mention the event tomorrow night with the fabulous Benjamin Law? He's going to be in conversation with Lai at La Boite. So if you would like more details about that, please go to the website, the Stella website, and you can see the times and all the details. Lai will be signing for us if you buy her book. Sorry, Lai. If you buy her book tonight, it's available up the back, and we will put a table here, and you can take home your own signed copy. Very special. And please do stay and join us and for more conversation, and the drinks will be flowing. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight and being a great crowd.